So every time I try and say hello in this voiceover, it sounds crazy. Hi. So I've stopped trying.
Hi!
I'm actually not going to do it today. Do you know what I mean? Easier, you know? I mean, why suffer? So today I'd like to have a look at why preterism is not little seasonism. In order to get there, you have to suffer a little bit by looking at the other four broad eschatological systems. And then we'll return to sanity. I'll be as brief as possible. By the end, you should see it. So we have four broad categories. We have idealist, and then we have historicist, then we have preterism, and then we have, of course, the ever-popular futurism. Now, not one of these systems, not one of them, has anything whatsoever remotely nothing to do with little seasonism. Not one of them. An ostrich and a duck both have feathers and they both make a strange noise, but they're not the same thing. It's the same principle here. So to understand the terms used, probably a good idea to just look at all four broad systems. So three of these happened in the past: historicism, preterism, idealism. And then if you a person looking for something in the future, then of course we have the ever popular, widely taught futurism. So what you have to remember is that all four of these systems obviously originated in the little season of deception, and that makes them all deceptions. So let's start with the easiest one to dismiss because it's so ethereal that it's all over and nothing's happening. It's quick to have a look at it. Idealism is called the spiritual approach, the allegorical approach, the non-literal approach, and it interprets revelation in terms of imagery and symbols. So it is not preterism, futurism, or historicism because it does not see any of the prophecies, except in some cases, second coming and final judgment, as being fulfilled in a literal, physical, earthly sense, either in the past, or the present, or the future. Now, nowhere is there any mention of a little season. It's not dealt with specifically. And also there's no hidden millennial reign. What we're saying is there's a physical, hidden millennial reign. It's happened for 1,000 years. It's over, and it's being hidden. So none of that in here. So little seasonism is not idealism.
Bye!
Historicism is also very quick and easy to see that it's not little seasonism. First of all, there's no mention of the little season in it. Nobody talks about it. It's not specifically handled. But other than that, it's a view that most of the book of Revelation describes history as it has been unfolding over the last 20 centuries. So when you've seen Gunnar Heinsohn's video and you know that they've inserted at least 700 years on the books, then you know this can't be accurate. I've done a lot of research on historicism. I sat through hours and hours and hours and hours of video to try and see if maybe, and then, I can't because I can see that history is fiddled with, faked, and we've got Roman ruins beneath our feet. So historicism is also not accurate. And no mention of the little season or a hidden millennial reign that happened or anything like that in historicism. So let's get rid of historicism. It's not historicism either.
Bye!
So let's take a look at futurism next. I don't know how many of you had the same experience as I did, but when I first came to Jesus, I was confronted with what to do with prophecy. And I was told that you have to read Daniel with Revelation. Now, this is a basic chart of Daniel. And you've got the prophetic gap there in the middle, which was just odd to me. 69 weeks or 69 and weeks roll out, and then there's a gap of 2,000 years, and then there's a last week. Okay? This is not the least confusing one. Have a look at this chart. Look at this. What's going on here? So I'm not going to torture you, but I missed these verses. Let's have a look quickly at what Daniel is told to do with the prophecy. He's told to seal it. And what does the angel tell John at the end of Revelation? Not to seal it. I missed that completely for the longest time. But anyway, let's move on. Let's look at a simplified timeline of futurism. You'll see the rapture is there. A lot of futurists don't buy the rapture, rightly so. There's no rapture in the Bible. It's not biblical. But even that has delineations. You get a pre-trib rapture and a mid-trib rapture and a post-trib rapture, and rapture just ain't happening. Okay. It also didn't happen. So then what they say is since Jesus ascended, we are in the church age, right? Then they've got a 7-year tribulation. Now, I'd like to show you something about the 7-year tribulation. It's actually not biblical either. There's no such thing as a 7-year tribulation. Most futurists buy that too. Let me show you a little clip of what Heiser says. It's only about a minute long.
In this video, Trey asks Dr. Heiser if there's a 7-year tribulation in the Bible.
Well, you can look at it. I mean, we're going into the 7th year, so what should we do with that? Is that like the number of perfection and completion, or is it like the 7-year tribulation? Or
well, we are
what do we do with that?
I don't know. We are in Revelation.
Yeah,
maybe we should go with that way.
You see that you threw me a softball there, because it's like, yeah, we're in the book of Revelation, and you will not find in the book of Revelation, just like you won't find anywhere else in the New Testament, the number 7 in the same verse as tribulation.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things we can tweak prophecy systems again. Everyone assuming the 70th week of Daniel is the tribulation, even though no verse actually says that. I mean, could be right, but could also be quite wrong. Yeah. So thanks for that, Trey. Yeah, thanks for that softball that I...
What Dr. Heiser's saying is correct. There is no specific verse in the Bible that states that the tribulation will last for exactly 7 years. The concept of a 7-year tribulation comes from a belief held by some Christians that certain events described in the book of Revelation are meant to be taken symbolically, and that these symbols correspond to specific lengths of time. For example, the number 7 is often seen as a symbol of completeness or perfection in the Bible, and so some people believe that the 7-year tribulation represents a complete period of tribulation that will precede the second coming of Jesus Christ. However, it is important to note that this is just one interpretation of the events described in the book of Revelation, and there are many other ways that these passages can be understood.
So no 7-year tribulation in the Bible at all. No mid-trib, pre-trib, main trib, it's nonsense. Now this chart has the 1,000-year millennial reign after the second coming in the future, and then the great white throne judgment, and then an eternal state, and there is no mention of the little season here. It's not taught. Okay. There are also different views about the millennial reign. So we have a premillennialism view, a post-millennialism view, and an amillennialism view. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's part of futurism. So if you're a little seasonist, you can never say you're post-millennial, you see? Never. Because post-millennial is futurism. There are some large little season accounts which say unclever things like, I'm a post-millennial little seasonist. Okay, it's not possible. It's like Judeo-Christian. Okay, please don't say that. And the other thing people do is they can't decide whether they're now spiritual millennial kingdom or earthly millennial kingdom. Listen, dudes, it's been hidden, okay? So it was here. So it wasn't spiritual. It was kind of earthly. Get that straight too. It's confusing for people when they start out. I know we're all new to this, but try. One person who gets this 100% right is Jason Jack. So to drive the point home, I'm going to just play to you how he explains how pre-post and amillennialism can never be little seasonism. Just have a listen.
Let's subdivide it into 3 further false viewpoints. The pre, the post, the amillennial view. Which are you? Are you pre-trib rapture? Are you mid-trib? Are you post-trib? Are you pre-trib, post-wrath? All these are false. But that's what we're given. These are the only options we're given within the churches today. You see the premillennial view here in this chart that is taught by many churches today, where after the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ began the church age, and almost 2,000 years later, we're still in it. And we're awaiting tribulation, the Antichrist, Armageddon, before the second coming. And when Satan's bound, then we have a future literal 1,000-year millennial reign. That's what premillennial futurism teaches. And then you see the final judgment, new heavens and new earth. You see here, Satan released the battle of Gog and Magog. They put it here in this premillennial chart within the 1,000 years, but that's not correct. Satan's released after the 1,000-year period has expired. And that's when the little season begins, Satan's little season. Do you see the little season mentioned in this chart in premillennialism? No, because it's not taught in the churches. We see postmillennial viewpoint. You would think at least with postmillennial, they would consider the millennial kingdom as already having occurred, right? That's what post means. But no, not when it comes to the Christian churches today. Postmillennial doesn't mean that the 1,000-year reign of Christ has already occurred. It simply means that they're blending the church age with an arbitrary timeline of the millennial kingdom. It's an indefinite timeline and goes on from the first coming till a future second coming. And that Satan is bound during this time, but just bound from the gospel to going forward enough during the church age. And the only difference between postmillennial and amillennial view is that postmillennial view looks at the world getting better and better up until the second coming of Jesus Christ. Do you see Satan's little season within this chart on postmillennialism? No, because it's not taught. Amillennial, same thing. Do you see Satan's little season within this? No, because it's not taught. And again, they conflate the church age, which I don't like to use anyway, because we have basically the second coming of Jesus Christ. We have the time between his first coming, his death, burial, and resurrection. If you want to call that the establishment of the church, until his second coming, around between 70 and 76 AD is when that occurred. That's the time when the revelation, trumpet, and ball judgments began. That was judgment. That was God's wrath on the earth at that time. And what followed was the millennial kingdom. So if we have a church age, we have a short church age. And then we had the millennial kingdom age. And now we're in Satan's little season. And we're the church within Satan's little season right now. But the church age isn't this almost 2,000-year period. There's been 1,000-year millennial reign within this timeline, and this 2,000 years, time has been added to our calendar, as it says in Daniel 7:25, where times and laws have been changed. And I'll show you how that has occurred in our historical path. But again, amillennial looks at the second coming of Jesus Christ to come in our future, but things get worse and worse up until that standpoint. But they look at the time currently as being a spiritual millennial reign where Christ reigns in our hearts and that Satan is bound at this point in time.
So now that we know where post-millennialism, amillennialism, and premillennialism fit in,
5,
I think we can move on to preterism. So here is our critics' favorite attack front, attack weapon, preterism. Okay, so you basically got two broad types. You've got full preterism and partial preterism. Full preterism says everything's over in 70 AD, and goodness knows what we're in right now. I mean, only they will know. It really doesn't matter to us. Partial preterism is most of the prophecies were fulfilled, but there's a second coming still to come. So we're basically in a church age or something. Irrelevant, moot. What is missing here is there's no little season. There's no specific little season. Point number one. Secondly, there's no hidden millennial reign. There's no literal, earthly, 1,000-year-long millennial reign, which ended, and thereafter Satan was loosed. And because they don't think we're in the little season, and they think there's a second coming, still coming, do you see how confusing it is? Because we're saying the second coming is over, but they've got the second coming incoming. So partial preterism is also not us. It's got absolutely zippo to do with little season thinking. See, so this doesn't apply to us at all. So little seasonists also really shouldn't use the word preterism at all. Please don't use the word preterism. It's bad thinking. It confuses people. So I hope you found this useful, and at least you didn't have to contend with any of this, you see. At least you don't have to look at this ever again. All you need to know is it's a pretty simple timeline. You just read the Bible literally, believe what it says, and then it's not hard. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you again soon.